breaking new information tonight on a new development on Fort Myers Beach. For more than a year, rumors have been circulating about a project on Estero Boulevard at the base of the Matanzas Pass Bridge, one that would dramatically change the island. Tonight, we have confirmed the project includes 4 new resorts, restaurants, and a parking garage. NBC2's Lindsay Fry gets reaction.
These people are for real. They bought the property. They own the property, and this is going to happen in one form or fashion.
Lee County Commissioner Larry Kiker is referring to Tom Torgerson. Over the last year, his company, Torgerson Properties, has purchased several businesses on Fort Myers Beach, including Mermaid Lounge and Salty Crab Restaurant.
I can see over $250 million. Easily.
Torgerson's plan for 4 new resort hotels and a parking lot would straddle Estero Boulevard close to Matanzas Pass Bridge.
So this is a conceptual presentation, and all it means is, here's my idea. What do you think?
In a recent letter to the county, Torgerson listed his ideas for 4 beachfront resorts, including a Hilton Resort, a Holiday Inn Resort, a Marriott Resort, and a Hampton Inn Resort.
Anytime you make change, not everyone's happy.
And so far, not everyone is.
It's going to hurt the businesses, because they're going to have restaurants in the hotels.
But the developer's ideas don't stop there. He also wants to build a 10,000 square foot spa and fitness center, along with a 1,500 space parking garage.
People like the old Florida.
It's just going to ruin the beach.
Kiker says on November 30th, Torgerson will hold a public meeting to present his ideas. On Fort Myers Beach, Lindsay Fry, NBC2.
Originally scheduled on commissioner items to report on a meeting that took place last night at Fort Myers Beach regarding what we call the Grand Resort development. And I elected, and I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about the walk-on item, which I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is designated to instruct staff and legal to work with the developer and for the town of Fort Myers Beach to put together a document of understanding. Last night, we had more than they had. First of all, let me thank the developer for reaching out and trying to communicate to the community. I think they're doing the best that they can. But I want to comment on that for a second. There was more than twice the number of people that I even expected to come last night. It was standing room only. I'd like to thank Doug and Roger both for coming and standing there with us all. And Roger and I left actually and went outside because we couldn't hear. There was so much going on. And we talked to a lot of people out there. A lot of the conversation that has taken place on Fort Myers Beach has been described, if you will, as folks that are very passionate about where they live and passionate about the businesses they have. I'm going to recategorize that. I don't think they're passionate. I think they're mad. I think they're really mad. And I know a lot of the people that live on the beach there and have businesses there. And, I don't want to call them who's, but if I had to look at a group of folks that I would turn to that I would say over the years have been what I would describe as community leaders, they were all there. And they all had something to say. And because of that, and like I said, I think that the developer, to their credit, has done as good a job as I've seen in the past trying to communicate. And I think we should all recognize the fact that they haven't made application. They're actually going out and getting public input before they make application, which is usually different. Usually they make application and then say, what do you think? So I'm going to give them the extra points for that. The communication piece that I'm talking about is one that belongs to the county in terms of how well we've communicated what the process is or should be or could be. And you hear things like, we're going too fast. You hear things like, this is a done deal. And I get all that. But I think what bothers me more is that when I had conversations with folks that took the time to speak with me, is that we weren't talking about the same thing. their idea of what the process is and where we're at and where we're going with it was completely different than what I think it is. Because of that, I think, and I'm going to, and we're certainly, I understand we've got some public input, and I think we all need to take the time to listen to anybody and everybody that took the time to come down here today. We do. But having said that, it's my opinion that we probably need to defer this item further. And I don't want to defer it just for the sake of deferring it. And I don't want to do it just in the sake of let's give everybody 2 more weeks to get ready to come in here and talk to us. I want to defer it with a goal in mind. And I used to call them a Gantt chart. Some people call them timelines, where this is the process and here's what happens first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And however long it takes to get to there. And before I would ask this board to take a position on that process, I would like to see an example of from the county viewpoint, what is the proper process for someone that wants to do development all the way through. And that would include some other subjects that keep popping up. And that's the other reason that I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable with this, is that, you know, we think we know what this project is, but then we find out last night there's 2 more properties that wasn't on part of that concept when we heard it. I mean, it's already changed a little bit. And then I heard conversation about public financing. And I'm like, I've never had that conversation before, and I'm not ready to make that part of this conversation or part of any action that we're going to take. I don't think this is going to take an extremely long time to do. You know, you do it all the time. I would also ask that we turn to the town and ask them, you know, if they could outline what their process is a little bit. Maybe we can map it out together. And I'm not saying working with a developer on this. I'm talking about the county and the town working together and identifying and specifically identifying what the process is and what that timeline means. That does not mean that we're creating a schedule that we have to follow. That just means that this has to happen before this can happen. This has to happen before this can happen, so that everybody can get a clear sense of what's going on with this entire process. And hopefully we won't have conversations where everybody's talking about something different, but they're using the same terminology. The conversation goes nowhere. And enter passion, and in some regards, some people get mad. And, you know, there's also some people that are thrilled to death about this project as well. So it needs to be a place where everybody shares the same information at the same time. So, you know, again, you know, it was an eye-opener for me. I thought I had my ear to the ground to what was going on. You're always going to hear some folks that are against something or for something, probably a little bit more than they should be, without all the facts. But I think in this particular case, we do a huge disservice if we cannot identify exactly where we are, where we're going, and what the end results are. And I don't think this is going to do anyone any harm to take a big breath. What I say, take a pause and figure out what this process is, so at least we know what we're voting on as well. So I appreciate you giving me 10 minutes for what I should have took 1 minute for. I know, hurry up.
No, I'm saying take your time.
But this is important. This is a really important project for Fort Myers Beach. It's a huge project for Lee County, and it means a lot to everyone. And when you talk to someone that has a house that's just next door to this project, and you hear them say, I'm not sure what that does for me. I'm not sure how that affects me. And so I understand why they feel the way they do and they say the things that they're saying. And quite frankly, I'd kind of like to find out, what's it going to do to me? I got a house down the street too, and I'm not sure what it is. So I can't even answer that question for myself. We've got some legal issues that I think need to be unturned, described, talked about, debated. You know, the only thing that I can tell you is that this first step is critical for this developer, as I understand it. If this seawall doesn't happen, then all the drawings that we've looked at goes away, and they have to start over, as I understand it from what they've said. So it's a real critical piece of it, but I don't think we want to, you know, we don't want to leave anybody behind on this thing. We want everybody together on it. No, not everybody's going to agree with each other, but at least we'll know why. And we'll know that we're talking about the same thing, and we can have some decent debate and conversation about it. So, again, I've talked too much. Thank you for your time. My intention will be at the end of this conversation, when you ask for a motion, is to defer this to such time that staff and legal will have a chance to talk to the town and come back to us with a time that you're comfortable that you can make that presentation 2 weeks in advance. So that's kind of where I'm going to go with this. Okay, so if there's any
That's your
questions.
motion then? That would, I would accept that as a motion for the procedure here today.
Okay.
I thought that was fairly well articulated as to what you want from here. Staff, you were okay with understanding the intent of the motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and we will hear from the public. Some of you folks that have taken that easy trip from Fort Myers Beach, I hope from the short end, before we come back to the commission and discuss it further here and vote on it. So, Bill Schenko, we give you another opportunity now to come forward and express yourself. I'll call you by name. If you will announce yourself again by name and give your quick street address, we'd appreciate it for the minutes taker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name for the record is Bill Schenko, Jr. I live at 581 Carlos Circle, Fort Myers Beach, short end.
These are 3-minute comments, if we can hold it to that, please.
Oh, boy.
And when it comes back to it, again in the future, you'll have another 3 minutes, and you'll have the same at the beach and all those. We're going to hear from the public.
That's why I write it down, sir. Thank you. A couple of things. If this is coming back in 2 weeks, I may not be here in 2 weeks. I have to clear a calendar to be here today. We're here to talk about a walk-on 11th hour motion that came before the council with very little, if any, public input. It should be noted, this is the very first public body that has had one word of public input regarding Grand Resorts. Town of Fort Myers Beach has never met and never had any public input regarding this, and this is the first time any member of the public has been able to talk to any elected official regarding at a public meeting regarding Grand Resorts. There's obvious community interest. Look at the TVs from last night. I don't know if there were 300, 500. There were a lot of people there last night. What is the hurry? This proposal before you on your agenda says it's to study. When you read the proposal, it's to approve, not study, a co-application with a developer to build a half-mile hardened surface seawall along Fort Myers Beach. That application includes 2 parcels that you own, your county parks, Lynn Hall Park and Crescent Beach Park, one of which the developer told us last night they're building a high-rise condo or hotel on top of. Plainly, the proposal is directly contrary to the Land Development Code of Lee County. I'm sorry, Land Development Code of Fort Myers Beach, and I believe directly contrary to the Land Development Code of Fort Myers Beach, both with the hardened structure, the density, and the height. I implore you, slow down. There are processes in place. You've got developments of regional impact. You've got all kinds of developments in Lee County. Why is this one treated so differently? Please do not operate under this veil of secrecy and backdoor deals. That's what we've had to this point. It needs to stop. Bring this matter properly to the public eye. follow the processes and procedures that are required by all development projects as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schenko.
And then, I'm going to say about 7 or 8 years ago, they drew another line that is probably closer to where Estero Boulevard is. And that changed what I think they called a B zone. And so that changed what you can do inside this area, even whenever you're building. So it's very, very restrictive.
That's
so
right.
this whole concept that they have to put in a seawall, or what I think is called an armor wall, and they're trying to also call it a boardwalk. But what's important about that is what you get with it or what you get without it. With it, then you can have businesses just right here on the ground, and then you build on top of that. Without it, you can't put anything here.
Okay.
And so your first floor is going to be 23 feet high.
As the developer of the project on Fort Myers Beach answers questions about his plans, Lee County Commissioner Larry Kiker is answering questions about why meetings with Torgerson were not properly logged. New at 6, as NBC2's Brian Colleran found out, the League of Women Voters wants Kiker investigated for ethics violations.
Clara Ann Graham has dedicated decades of her life to voting rights.
I started in Blacksburg, Virginia in the early 70s.
The president of the League of Women Voters of Lee County has filed a complaint with the state after seeing the lobbyist logs of Lee County Commissioner Larry Kiker.
I can understand if, there was an omission or something not really totally documented, but there were 30.
The logs are available to anyone on the county's Clerk of Court's website. Kiker's logs not only look different from the others, there are gaps. Meetings with developers like Tom Torgerson and his group, who are trying to build 3 new hotels in a downtown area on Fort Myers Beach, were initially left empty. The commissioner tells NBC2, "I am fixing those differences right now. It is important that they are current, up to date, and stay that way." If a violation did occur, the Commission on Ethics can hand down a fine. In this case, the president of the League of Women Voters says the biggest penalty should be handed down.
It should be in total, the total fine that is allowable.
Kiker tells NBC2 that I've not heard from one single group or organization about these complaints. The State Commission on Ethics says once a complaint is received, it takes 2 to 6 weeks before it goes before the board. They decide if any action will be taken. In Lee County, Brian Colleran, NBC2.
No secret meetings on Fort Myers Beach. The town council has been accused of meeting behind closed doors to talk about that major development project. So they're going to try and be more transparent for the public. NBC2's Andy Hubble was on the beach today and has more on this proposed plan.
With rumors swirling of major change coming to Fort Myers Beach, Town Council wants to make sure all meetings are transparent and will now institute lobby logs.
They're trying to feel their way, and they've got a lot of issues to resolve.
Word is circulating on the island that former Mayor Anita Saracita had secret meetings with Grand Resorts developer Tom Torgerson about his plan to build 3 new hotels on the island.
I would never accuse her of that because I don't know. But perception is reality a lot of times, and that's what people perceive happens.
Council member Rexanne Hassefraus told Council Monday Saracita's meeting with Torgerson was approved, but Town Council has decided to create a lobby ordinance to prevent any future gossip.
They're not going to be so quick to say, well, they're having secret meetings.
The town attorney will draft an ordinance similar to Lee County's, where officials will have to record who they met with, where they met, and what they talked about.
We have to let everybody know we're doing things in the open and in the sunshine.
Lee County Commissioner Larry Kiker was recently under fire for not following the county's lobby ordinance and was also accused of meeting with Torgerson behind closed doors. Residents say the new provisions give them a peace of mind.
I think that it'll just make everybody a little bit more accountable.
The proposed lobby ordinance will be presented to council within the next few weeks. On Fort Myers Beach, Annie Hubble, NBC2.